Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the what if. Chapter 9. Calm before the storm. On the one hand, their mission was going to continue, but on the other hand, Naruto had no idea where they were going to stay. We're going to need a place to stay for the time being, Kakashi said. Don't worry about that, Tazuna said. You guys risked your lives for my sake, so the least I can do is to let you stay at my place. Although, I'm not sure if we have enough space for your masked friends. Bear stared at Tazuna from behind his mask. We'll find a place to stay, but we'll be on hand if you need us for protection. I appreciate it. Tazuna then turned to Kakashi. Let me show you the way. Team 7 followed Tazuna into the nearby village while the team of Anbu stealthily trailed them in their assigned formation. Naruto thought that Kakashi could order Team 7 around because they were genin, but even hardened assassins were following his orders without question. He was more than just some aloof, tardy teacher. Once they reached Tazuna's home, a large house next to a pier, Bear approached Kakashi. We'll return here in the morning so that we can work out a plan, Bear said. Kakashi nodded and they watched the Anbu squad disappear. The door was opened by a woman with long black hair, who was wearing a red shirt and an ankle-length blue skirt. Father, I'm glad you came back safely. Are these the shinobi that protected you? Yes, Kakashi said. I'm Kakashi and these are my teammates, Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura. Tsunami, please escort our guests inside, Tazuna said. Tsunami nodded politely and showed Team 7 inside, guiding Kakashi to a bedroom. Once he got there, Kakashi fell onto the nearest bed, landing with a thud. Sakura gasped. Kakashi-sensei. I'm fine, Sakura, Kakashi said. Just chakra exhaustion. Once Tsunami left the room, Sasuke glared at Kakashi. Kakashi, how do you have a Sharingan? I lost an eye during a mission and my teammate, an Uchiha, gave his own eye to me. Before Sasuke could protest, Kakashi held up a hand. I need to rest, you guys know what to do in times like these, right? If Kakashi needed to sleep, then Naruto sure wasn't going to stop him. Naruto left the room and was about to head to the roof when he bumped into Tsunami. I'm sorry, Naruto said as he caught Tsunami and the wet cloth that Tsunami threw into the air in surprise. Tsunami grabbed Naruto's shoulder to steady herself. It was my mistake, Naruto. Don't blame yourself, okay? Naruto nodded. I thought that you would be tired after traveling for so long. I'm not tired. He covered his mouth in order to stifle a yawn, smiling sheepishly. Besides, I have to watch the house, just in case any of Gato's cronies come along. Tsunami smiled, finding her footing. In that case, I'll get you a blanket after I give Kakashi this cloth. It gets cold at night, especially since the ocean is so close. Naruto shook his head. I can't. I can take care of myself. Sasuke and Sakura would need a blanket more than I would. But, thank you for considering me. My pleasure. Tsunami gave him another smile and went over to Kakashi's room. A few minutes later, Naruto found himself in the kitchen and cracked open a cup of instant ramen. Before Tsunami could return, he pulled out his stores of rice and placed them in the cupboard. Once he returned to the table, he began to think about his fights with Ao and that kid he was working with. It was a real shock to his system. Without his shadow clones and sensing ability, he couldn't contribute. His taijutsu wasn't any good and his genjutsu took too long to activate. It was so annoying that even after all the effort he put in, he still had to rely on Kakashi or even Sasuke to make up for his flaws. It was what teamwork was supposed to be about, but that didn't mean he had to be a sitting duck. Naruto pulled on his orange sweater and continued to eat his ramen. I don't get why my taijutsu is so weak, but... Naruto, Tsunami asked as she returned to the kitchen, giving him a concerned look. I thought you were going to watch our house. I am. Naruto smiled. Take a look outside. Tsunami looked outside the window and saw a clone of Naruto, who waved at her. I see what you mean. She sighed. If you need anything, don't be afraid to ask. Naruto smiled. I won't. Thank you. When Tsunami left the kitchen with another wet cloth in her hand, Naruto felt his heart grow heavy. Was this what having a mother was supposed to feel like? For whatever reason, Naruto had a vision of vivid red hair and violet eyes, but shook his head. Thinking about who his parents were or what happened to them wouldn't do him any good. And most of the time, it was too agonizing to bear. The next day, Naruto woke up, the sun's bright rays hitting his eyelids as they fluttered open. He was unusually tired last night. When he thought about how that happened, he remembered how he created hundreds of clones the day before and strained his body to its limit by fighting and moving at his fastest. It definitely made an impact on his still-growing body. After he changed into his gray shirt and orange pants, Naruto left his room and walked to the bathroom. Before he could enter, he was stopped by Kakashi, who was leaning on a crutch. "How was guard duty last night, Naruto?" Kakashi asked. "Kind of boring." Kakashi nodded. "That's good. You wouldn't mind answering a few questions, wouldn't you?" "No," Naruto said. "I wouldn't." "All right, then. Where did you learn how to walk on water?" "I got a chakra control book from Shikamaru. One of the exercises in the book says to cling onto a surface using chakra, like a tree. The next step is to walk on water." "I see. You know, there was something I heard yesterday I just couldn't stop thinking about." "What was it?" "Well, before I used the Sharingan on that mist ninja Ao, he mentioned that genjutsu wouldn't work on him. And when I thought about the long hand seal combination I saw you try to use." "Why would you want to use genjutsu of all the ninja arts, Naruto?" "Shikamaru said that because I was so creative, genjutsu would be the best choice for me." Kakashi put a finger to his chin. It's not a bad idea, but you're using it the wrong way." Naruto scowled. "That's not true. According to what I learned, it's better to use hand seals to mold the correct amount of chakra you need to cast illusions on your opponent." "You're not wrong," Kakashi said. "But in the time you try to use genjutsu, your opponent would have either escaped or killed you. You use your shadow clones so well, so when I see your attempts at using genjutsu..." "Then what do you think I should do, Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto asked, biting back an insult. Without even knowing it, Kakashi was stomping on everything Kurenai was trying to teach him. "While I'm not busy helping Sasuke and Sakura train, I'll give you some pointers to shorten the amount of time you waste on casting genjutsu. The ultimate goal of genjutsu is to use no hand seals when casting them, right?" "Easy for you to say," Naruto said. "You have a Sharingan." Kakashi sighed. "That's true, but it doesn't mean that I don't know any genjutsu that doesn't require me to use it. Since you want to be a genjutsu specialist, you'll have to cut down on the hand seals. You'll also need to have some sort of backup in case your genjutsu fails, like being good at taijutsu. That's an area that you definitely need to improve on." Fine. Now that he thought about it, Kakashi was finally offering to train him and teach him something. "I mean, you're right. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei." "No problem." Naruto saw Sasuke and Sakura leaving their room. "So did Kakashi. We'll discuss this later." Naruto nodded, before following his sensei downstairs into the kitchen. "Good morning," Tsunami said from her seat at the dining room table. She pointed at plates filled with food. "As you can see, breakfast is ready." Kakashi and Naruto sat down and began to eat, enjoying the meal and reveling in the fact that they didn't have to cook their own food. They were soon joined by Sasuke and Sakura, who looked refreshed after a long night of sleep. "There's a lot of rice, don't you think?" Kakashi asked. "I found that I had a lot of extra rice, surprisingly," Tsunami said. Naruto smiled. "So I added it into the breakfast I planned to make." "Well, this is excellent." Naruto took his mouth away from his bowl to nod in agreement. "I'm glad that you appreciate it," Tsunami said with a smile. After finishing her breakfast, she stood up and took her plate. "Kakashi-sensei," Sakura said after Tsunami left the room. "Are you sure you can beat that S-rank kunoichi?" Kakashi held the spoonful of rice next to his mask. For a split second, it wobbled. With the right strategy and team, any ninja can be defeated. "Fortunately, we have time to make a plan and train you three so that you can survive a potential encounter with our opponents." Sakura nodded, a slight smile crossing her face. Sasuke perked up as well. Advanced training was great, but hopefully, they could learn something that could help them survive and return to the Hidden Leaf Village in one piece. "Don't worry about the enemy, right? Just finish your breakfast and we can start training when you're done." Sakura nodded slowly while Sasuke began to shovel down his remaining food. Naruto finished his plate of food and took it to the kitchen. On the way there, he passed a young boy wearing a white-blue striped bucket hat and dark green overalls. The boy had a sullen look on his face, and when he stared at Naruto, he quickly averted his gaze. "Hey there, how's it going?" Naruto asked, hoping to get some sort of response. The boy remained silent and walked to the dining room. Naruto shrugged after standing there for a few moments and entered the kitchen, where he cleaned the plate and placed it next to the sink. He returned to the kitchen and saw his team ready to depart. The boy was there as well, silently eating his cooling breakfast. His stomach crawled. He saw the look on that boy's face so many times that he lost count. "Can we go now?" Naruto asked. Kakashi's eyes smiled. "Someone's eager for training. Let's go outside." Sparing the young boy one last glance, Naruto joined up with his team and left Tazuna's house. The boy watched them leave, glaring as they left. "You're just going to die," the boy said, but when Naruto turned back, all the boy did was scowl at his food. Naruto went alongside Team 7 to a small clearing a few meters away from Tazuna's house, surrounded by tall trees with foliage that covered the sky. "Before we begin, I'll remind you about what chakra is since it ties into what we're going to do today," Kakashi said. Chakra is made of two parts. Naruto knew what chakra was all about, so he closed his eyes and tuned out Kakashi's lecture. His eyes shot open when he heard Sakura's voice. "How do we learn to use the right amount of chakra to form a jutsu?" Kakashi's eyes smiled. "Tree climbing. How is tree climbing supposed to help us?" Sakura asked, eyebrow twitching. Sasuke placed his palm on his forehead. Kakashi gathered chakra around the soles of his feet and the tip of his crutch, before walking up the nearest tree until he reached the nearest branch. He crouched and Naruto saw his teammates' looks of surprise. The point of this exercise is to learn how to gather the minimum amount of chakra needed to use the technique. Your feet are the hardest part of the body to channel chakra to. So if you can channel chakra to your feet, channeling chakra to your hands would be child's play in comparison, Sasuke said. Exactly. Since you'll be required to use chakra while moving throughout your ninja career, this helps build up your stamina. Once you get used to this, you'll be prepared for the next step of your shinobi training. Kakashi threw two kunai at his students, one for Sakura and Sasuke. Use these to mark your progress. I recommend getting a running start before trying to climb the tree. There's only two kunai, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura said. What about Naruto? Kakashi chuckled. Naruto, please demonstrate the tree climbing technique to your teammates. Naruto nodded and walked to the nearest tree, before casually walking up its trunk. Sakura watched Naruto perform the exercise in astonishment. Sasuke frowned, even though Naruto was sure that he saw him walk on water. That's enough, Naruto. Naruto ran down the tree trunk and returned to level ground, prompting Kakashi to return to ground level himself. Naruto noticed four masked shinobi approach the house. Naruto, while I handle the Anbu, you'll watch over Sakura and Sasuke, all right? Naruto nodded. Got it. After Kakashi left the clearing, Naruto watched Sakura and Sasuke try to climb the tree with chakra. Sasuke ran to the tree and took 3 steps, marking his position before blasting off. Too much chakra, Naruto said. Once you feel that there's enough chakra under your feet, don't channel any more than that. This is easy, Sakura said, grinning. She was seated on the highest branch of the tree that she climbed. Naruto hid his surprise before she could notice. If she was capable of climbing up to the top on her first try, Sakura's chakra control must have been amazing. Don't stop there. If you can run up and down the tree for 1 hour without losing your concentration, that means you mastered the exercise. Sakura puffed her cheeks, but gave Naruto a nod and began to run down the tree trunk. Sasuke was still trying to complete the exercise, but he was making little progress. Naruto sat in a cross-legged position and closed his eyes, letting him watch his teammates and train his sensor ability. The best of both worlds, as far as he was concerned. For once, he was ahead of his teammates, and he was going to enjoy this as much as he could. While that was happening, Kakashi was escorting an Anbu with short blonde hair and a fox-shaped mask to his room. So you want me to heal all of your wounds and replenish your chakra? Fox asked. Exactly, Kakashi said after laying on his futon. He needed to train as well, if he was going to be ready. Then you're free to rejoin your team. Understood, Fox said. She placed her hands over Kakashi's torso and they began to glow in a healthy green hue. You're quite lucky, Kakashi, Fox said after diagnosing Kakashi's injuries. Other than a minor case of chakra exhaustion and scattered Senbon wounds, you should be ready for battle after you've been fixed up. That's good, Kakashi said, relieved. But you need to rest. So no moving around once I've finished the treatment. After Kakashi's reluctant show of approval, Fox began to use the mystical palm jutsu to heal Kakashi, who was thinking about what he could do for personal training, and what he would do about Naruto, who was already ahead of his teammates. For the rest of the day, Naruto and his teammates trained in their own ways. Sakura ran up and down one of the highest trees so that she could increase her stamina and chakra reserves, while Sasuke repeatedly tried to complete the technique. Naruto watched them go at it while pushing his sensor ability past its limit. He was already able to sense further than before, but it wasn't enough. He could see further than he could sense, and if it wasn't for the fact that his sensor let him see in every direction and detect people's chakra signatures, training it would be more trouble than it was worth. Naruto summoned a shadow clone and had it catch Sakura before she could hit the ground. She was panting heavily and stumbled when Naruto's clone set her on the ground. Once she was steady, the clone dispelled. Sakura, please go back to the house and rest. You're at your limit. Sakura wiped the sweat from her brow. No, I can still train. Not without chakra, you can't. You've seen what chakra exhaustion can do to a shinobi. Do you want it to happen to you? Sakura pouted, but she didn't vocally object, and slowly made her way back to the house. Sasuke watched Sakura leave before he continued his exercise. He could walk halfway up one of the higher trees, but after 10 minutes of almost no progress, it seemed like Sasuke was about to give up and walk back to the house. But he didn't. Naruto sensed Sakura walk back to the house. She paused for a bit, giving Sasuke one last look before entering. After a few minutes of watching Sasuke try and fail to climb to the top of the tree, he felt Sasuke approach him. What is it? Naruto asked. Sasuke stared at Naruto for almost half a minute. How do you do this dumb exercise properly? Naruto sighed. Here's how. Calm down and focus. That'll make the exercise much easier. Sasuke shrugged before taking a deep breath. He returned to the tree he was trying to climb and climbed much higher than before. Sasuke marked his progress and pushed off the tree, landing on the ground gracefully. Naruto knew that whatever personal issues he had with Sakura or Sasuke would have to be put aside. The enemies they were about to face were terrifyingly strong, so not helping either of his teammates become stronger would be asking for death. Even so, Naruto figured that Sasuke would have found this exercise easy, and when he didn't, he would quit. Naruto assumed that everything came easy to Sasuke. The adoration, the accolades, the acknowledgement. He never realized that Sasuke was willing to work himself to the bone in order to complete an exercise, no matter how important or unimportant the exercise actually was. And it was because he was willing to better himself as a person and as a shinobi that he realized that. Naruto carried an exhausted Sasuke into the house and placed him on the couch. He walked to the dining room where he saw Kakashi and Sakura, along with Tazuna, Tsunami and the boy from earlier. Sasuke's on the couch. He overdid it. Naruto sat down at the table and watched Sakura leave the room. Paying no mind to this, Naruto began to eat. After Sakura returned with Sasuke leaning onto her, she set him down on the nearest chair, smiling when she heard Sasuke's weak grunt of appreciation. Once she sat down, she ate with the rest of them in earnest silence. Naruto watched the young boy, noticing his slumped posture and sour attitude. The boy stood up and looked at a picture on the wall in what appeared to be longing, before walking away from the dining room and heading up the stairs. Tsunami, Naruto quietly asked after finishing his food. Do you know why he was staring at that picture on the wall? Inari, my son, was staring at a picture of my husband, Tsunami replied. He was Inari's father in everything but blood. He wasn't always like this, you know, Tazuna said. He was full of life, a happy kid. See, one day there were these bullies who took Inari's dog, Pochi. They ignored Inari when he begged them to give back his dog. That got them angry and threw Pochi into the water. Naruto clenched his fists. He had experience dealing with bullies before and he could imagine where it was going. Inari didn't know how to swim, so he watched in fear as Pochi struggled to stay above the water, unable to do anything for Pochi. Tazuna continued. The bullies teased him and mocked him, until one of them pushed him into the water. Naruto scowled. What happened next? While Pochi managed to paddle back to shore, Inari wasn't so lucky. He watched the bullies chase Pochi away while he struggled to stay. Because of them, Inari almost drowned that day. That was when my husband found Inari, Tsunami said. He immediately jumped into the water and saved Inari's life. My husband managed to bring those bullies to justice, before giving Inari valuable advice. That was the day they first met and soon after, they became very close. What was your husband's name? Sakura asked. Kaiza. He was a fisherman that always believed in a bright future for everyone. He became regarded as a hero after saving some of the villagers from a terrible flood, which made the villagers and Inari believe in him even more. But then, Gato came here and he found a way to kill Kaiza, and he did it in front of the entire village, Tazuna said, frowning deeply. That day was the day that heroes ceased to exist. It was the day that our village lost the courage and hope to go on. They had a moment of silence. What a sad story, Sakura whispered. But, she paused. I don't believe that you've lost the courage to stop dreaming, to stop believing. I mean, you're building that bridge. That has to count for something. And just because someone you love dies, it doesn't mean that you have to die as well, Kakashi said. You're still alive, you still have a reason to live, to honor the memory of those that you lost. Because even when someone dies, a part of them still lives on within you, Sasuke said. People like Kaiza inspire others to dream, to live. And if you forget the deceased and what they stood for, that's when they die for good. As long as you have a dream to fight for, then you have to put everything you have into it, Naruto said. Because a dream worth fighting for, is a dream worth dying for. Thank you all. Tsunami wiped her eyes and rid them of tears. She took the plates of everyone whose food was finished and went to the kitchen in order to clean them. Tazuna stood up and gave the members of Team 7 an appreciative smile before heading to his room. What Kaiza did for the Land of Waves was truly inspirational, but his end was such a huge tragedy, and Naruto spent a few minutes thinking about it. Kaiza fought for his dreams, but his death wasn't in vain. He'd be remembered for a long time, and by building the bridge, Tazuna was bearing the torch that Kaiza had carried. Let's get some rest, Kakashi said. We'll need to train even harder than before so that we can complete this mission. Everyone else nodded, and the team stood up and went to their room, determined to help Tazuna's dream become a reality. The next day, Kakashi took Naruto to an area further away from the clearing they used to train in tree climbing, having Fox watch Sakura and Sasuke with instructions to move on to water walking once they were ready. It was a clear day that day and the sun shone through the trees, basking the clearing in a blue-green glow. All right, Naruto, Kakashi said. He was standing in front of his student. Before I start with solving any problems you have with Genjutsu, let's start with your other problem, Taijutsu. We'll begin with a spar so that I can see where you're lacking. Naruto nodded and stood in a fighting stance. Can you attack first, Kakashi-sensei? That way, I can show you how I fight. Kakashi shrugged and aimed a jab at Naruto's face, blocking Naruto's own punch with an outstretched hand. Kakashi dropped Naruto's fist and watched as Naruto ducked under his backhanded fist and jumped over his reverse leg sweep. While Kakashi wasn't putting all of his effort into trying to attack Naruto, he noticed that Naruto's speed, flexibility and reflexes were far better than they were the last time they sparred. The spar continued as Naruto repeatedly avoided Kakashi's strikes. He parried lunge punches with outside blocks, ducked under roundhouse kicks and flipped over Kakashi's leg sweeps. However, there was a flaw to Naruto's reactionary taijutsu style that Kakashi spotted. After Naruto dodged Kakashi's thrust kick by jumping away, he was about to enter Kakashi's inner guard, only to get kicked harshly to the ground. There are two problems with your taijutsu style, Kakashi said. The first is that while you have incredible reflexes, your punches are weaker. You've focused so much on dodging attacks that you've failed to work on maximizing the force behind your punches. The second problem you have is that if you fight someone faster than you, you'll be unable to avoid their attacks. Naruto stood up and dusted himself off. Then what do I do, Kakashi-sensei? I want you to get the feel of actually attacking someone. Normally, this wouldn't be a problem for someone like you, but after seeing you fight, it makes me wonder why you changed your style so radically. I learned that fighting like this would be better to use genjutsu with, Naruto said. I can react to my opponent's attacks and look for ways to use my genjutsu. But what happens when you fight someone who's good at dispelling genjutsu? What then? Kakashi prodded. He took Naruto's silence as an answer. There's no problem in wanting to specialize in genjutsu, but you need a contingency plan in case your genjutsu fails. Naruto nodded. I got it. Then that's settled. Have a shadow clone tag along with me while you begin your training. I want you to do 250 punches for each hand and 100 snap kicks, 100 thrust kicks and 100 roundhouse kicks, for each leg. Naruto nodded and began to work on fixing his flaws in taijutsu. Meanwhile, Kakashi took Naruto's clone away from the original. I want you to work on your hand seal speed. Whether you use genjutsu or ninjutsu, the speed you can make hand seals with can easily make the difference between life and death. But first things first, try and place a genjutsu on me. You know how, right? Naruto's clone glared at Kakashi. Of course I do. The clone went through a chain of hand seals, thrusting its hands forward and implanting chakra within Kakashi's chakra network, aiming to influence chakra flow within Kakashi's cerebral nervous system. I see your problem, Naruto, Kakashi said after the genjutsu dispelled by itself. Your illusion would have taken hold, but there's something that prematurely dispels the illusion. Kakashi pulled his headband upwards, revealing his Sharingan. Try the illusion again. Naruto's clone complied and used the same technique he used the last time. Kakashi used his Sharingan to monitor Naruto's chakra flow. Blue chakra sped towards him and entered his chakra network, instantly heading for his brain. Just before it could, a trickle of red chakra escaped from Naruto's hands and latched onto the blue chakra like a parasite, entering Kakashi's chakra network and forcing the illusion to disperse. Try using ninjutsu this time, Kakashi said. The clone used the transformation jutsu and Kakashi watched as the clone gathered blue chakra around its hands. While some of it was wasted, the red chakra didn't affect the technique and it went off without a hitch. The clone transformed into Kakashi, then returned to normal. Kakashi covered his Sharingan. Your problem is what's sealed within you. Find a way to redirect the nine-tailed fox's chakra and you'll be able to cast genjutsu without any problems. Understand? The clone nodded. I thought so. Good. Work on that in your hand seal speed. Remember, use fewer hand seals and use only the bare minimum amount of chakra required to cast the genjutsu. Naruto's clone tried to use the illusion once more. When it felt the nine-tails chakra try to escape, it forcibly redirected it and as a result, Kakashi became trapped in an illusion. Kakashi placed his hands in the ram seal and dispelled the illusion, giving the clone a thumbs up. Nice work, Naruto, Kakashi said. I always imagined that Sakura would be the one to use genjutsu. She had the potential. The fact that you're doing it is a pleasant surprise. Naruto's clone beamed. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. It was good that Naruto had taken the initiative to improve himself. Now it was on Kakashi to help Naruto get even better. Maybe he'd become a master of genjutsu someday. 2 days passed since then and Naruto was escorting Tazuna to the bridge. Sasuke and Sakura had moved on to learning how to walk on water and were being supervised by Fox, while the other three Anbu, Bear, Snake and Cat, were training with Kakashi. Kakashi had actually been looking forward to linking up with Cat, a frequent teammate of his during his stint in Anbu. Seeing that Kakashi actually had a friend was a surprise that took Naruto some time to process. With his teammates busy training, Naruto was the only one who was free, since he had shadow clones working on hand seal speed and his techniques. He was still happy that he could use genjutsu and it reflected in his mood. So to pass the time, he decided to accompany Tazuna as his bodyguard. As they stepped onto the path that led to the bridge, Naruto could feel the desperation coming from the people. The buildings were heavily damaged and some of them were about to fall apart. There were people that were barely able to move, and children with sunken stomachs were sleeping in the shade of dark alleyways. He frowned. This is a lot worse than I thought. That's why I have to build this bridge, Tazuna said. There are times where I feel like I'll lose hope, but whenever I see just how much damage Gato did, it renews my resolve. This bridge is what will save us from Gato's tyranny. It's a symbol of hope and courage. It's the gateway to the future, a future where our land can prosper. If I fail, hundreds of innocent people will die. That's why I'll never give up. I'll show everyone that dreams never die. As long as you have a single breath left in your body, you can still fight for whatever you believe in with all of your might. Naruto processed what Tazuna said and remained silent as he continued to walk with Tazuna to the bridge. It reminded him of himself. Even in the face of overwhelming adversity, Naruto never gave up and never allowed himself to fail. When Naruto and Tazuna arrived at the bridge, one of Tazuna's assistants approached him. "Tazuna, we got a letter from this unusual person. The guy said that it was for your eyes only." Tazuna ripped open the envelope, immediately reading the letter instead. His eyes slowly widened, and once he finished reading, he frowned, nearly dropping the letter. "Please give me the letter, Mr. Tazuna," Naruto said. After Tazuna did so, Naruto read through the letter. "Dear Tazuna, my accomplices and I will arrive at your bridge in 3 days. You may wonder why have I announced our arrival in advance. I believe that we can resolve this situation in a diplomatic manner. I will come with the intent to negotiate terms with you and you alone. You will not be in danger for the duration of our negotiation, for I intend to reach an agreement that will satisfy us both. If you do not comply with my demands, or you arrive with outside help, I will assume that you are not interested in negotiation. For your sake, and the sake of your country, I implore you to make the right choice. Mei Terumi." He scowled. "Don't worry, Mr. Tazuna. Me, my team, the Anbu. We'll protect you. Believe it." Within Gato's headquarters, Mei Terumi was thinking about Ao's battle against Kakashi Hatake, and Chojiro's report. She expected Tazuna to have protection, but the fact that he had hired ninja from the Hidden Leaf complicated matters. She was confident that she could defeat Kakashi. However, the risk of escaping unharmed was too high to ignore, and it would be compounded by the fact that she had to protect Ao's indisposed body. This wasn't why she hadn't joined the fight. Her plan to create an alliance with the Hidden Leaf once she became Mizukage would be more difficult when their Hokage learned of her involvement in their mission. It wouldn't do if she annihilated a genin squad and the copy ninja because they were in her way, not when it wasn't necessary. That was why she instructed her comrades to pull their punches, so to speak. Capturing Tazuna was the priority, and both of them were skilled enough to avoid killing blows. She saw Ao approach her, shaking his heavily bandaged left arm. Ao was loyal to her even if they had their differences, and he was definitely useful. For one, he was much better at sensing and dispelling genjutsu than she was. She could dispel them easily enough, but it took her time to do so. "What's the plan now, Lady Terumi?" Ao asked. "How is your arm?" Mei asked. "It'll be ready to go in a day or two," Ao said. Mei placed her hands in her lap. "Excellent. Tell me how you'd capture Tazuna." "Normally I'd just layer the area with the hidden mist technique and draw the targets away from Tazuna, but it wouldn't work." Mei raised a questioning eyebrow. "It's because of that boy, the blonde one. He's an Uzumaki, I'm sure of it." Mei stared at Ao before standing up from her seat on her bed. "And how can you tell?" Besides sealing, the Uzumaki clan were also known for their advanced sensing prowess. "It explains how they were able to find and attack me, if the kid found out and cultivated his ability as a sensor. And from what you and Chojiro told me, he won't go down so easily. It was rare for a genin to have enough chakra to properly use the shadow clone jutsu, and this Uzumaki child could use them by the dozens." Chojiro entered Mei's room with a case of medical supplies, and she smiled at him, making him flinch. In spite of his skittish demeanor, he had piqued her interest after she saw him learn how to wield the haramakiri. All in all, she made a good choice in adding the young man to her group. "Is everything all right, Lady Terumi?" "Chojiro, be a man for once in your life," Ao scolded. "You'll never get married to a respectable woman with an attitude like that. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes when you end up old and alone." "Never married, old and alone, Ao," Mei said with a serene smile on her face. Her voice, however, was colder than ice. "Shut up, or I'll kill you." Ao sighed deeply, like he always did whenever Mei threatened him. If only he understood that any man on this planet would be blessed to become her husband. We still need to plan against Hitaki and his team of genin. They won't be the only problem, Mei said. You noticed the Anbu squad that joined them, did you not? Ao grasped his chin. I did. Before I rescued Chojuro, I had to take out an Anbu. Maybe they were connected. Did you kill him? Mei asked. He bit a pill before I could disable him, Ao said. He showed no signs of life, but I didn't have time to perform a full autopsy. I understand. Chojuro's safety was more important. Can we make a deal with them? Chojuro asked, after placing the case on Mei's bed. Medical ninja that were on par with the Hidden Leaf's medical corps were a rarity in the Hidden Mist, so it was a must for every ninja to have proper first aid training. I have sent a letter, but I don't believe they'll be privy to negotiation, Mei said. Of course, nothing would be achieved if she didn't make a valiant attempt. Not like that. Chojuro guided Ao to sit on the bed and began to remove his bandages, weathering Ao's barbs with gusto. We can, I don't know, trick them into believing that Tazuna's dead, maybe. Ao snickered, before breathing in deep as Chojuro treated his burns. I could place Tazuna in a state of false death. Once we get the money from Gato, we can revive Tazuna and be on our way. Mei smiled. It's a good idea, but we still need to defeat Tazuna's guards. They won't be so willing to agree with our proposal. If push comes to shove, we'll have to fight them with everything we have. Chojuro smiled as he wrapped Ao's shoulder with new bandages, showing her sharp teeth. Don't worry, Lady Terumi. I'll do my best. Ao nodded. Just leave it to us, Lady Terumi. I appreciate it. Mei gave the blue-haired swordsman a warm smile. He was always so dutiful, and she appreciated him for staying by her side. She demanded so much of him, where in a better world, he'd be an ordinary genin like the copy ninja's rookies. And Chojuro, you should be proud of yourself. You showed great bravery in scouting Tazuna's guards. Chojuro's entire face turned a dark shade of red. Thank you, Lady Terumi. Come on, kid, don't you see Lady Terumi needs her rest? After Ao dragged Chojuro away, Mei placed the medical case underneath her bed. Ao and Chojuro were willing to go the distance with her, which was something she valued. It was loyalty that would help secure their village's future. Of course, the irony did not escape her. In order to restore her village and her country to their former glory, she would have to end the one real chance the Land of Waves had at salvation. The plan Chojuro offered did appeal to her sensibilities, but she knew that it wouldn't be easy to achieve if she went through with it. She had planned to capture Tazuna and decide what to do with him once he was in her clutches, but Gato was as capricious as she was shrewd. If he sniffed any sort of deception, his money would disappear along with him. He would die if he betrayed their deal, but the money that he offered was far too great to let it slip through her fingers. If she had to choose between the prosperity of her village and the death of another country, the choice was obvious. She'd done far worse in her own time for lesser causes. Maybe she could find a way to help the Land of Waves, should the worst come to pass. Either way, this mission was the path she chose and she would see it through to the very end. She would just have to deal with the repercussions the mission brought as well as she could. Chapter 10. Battle on the Big Bridge. It had been 2 days since Naruto received Mei Terumi's letter. After he handed the letter over to Kakashi, Kakashi brought the Anbu and Team 7 together, quickly creating a strategy to fight and defeat Mei and her group with as few casualties as possible. The plan sounded good, but it would take everything their combined team had to come out on top. Fortunately, Naruto had improved his hand seal speed and lowered the amount of hand seals he needed to cast his illusions. With Kakashi's help, his taijutsu was starting to get better. His idea of how to integrate genjutsu with taijutsu was still in the back of his mind, and now, he was closer to making that idea a reality. It would definitely make you more dangerous, Kakashi said after hearing Naruto's idea. Kakashi had managed to check up on his students while simultaneously training with the Anbu, and Team 7 had grown in strength as a result. At the moment, Team 7 were eating dinner at Tazuna's house, keeping in pleasant mood going so that nobody would worry about what would happen the next day. Unfortunately, Inari was still as angry as ever. His complaints that Team 7 were just going to die fell on deaf ears. He didn't want them to die and waste their lives for a lost cause. All he was trying to do was show them their resistance was futile. However, nobody was going to listen to him, so after he finished his food, he left the dining room and went to his bed. Naruto watched Inari leave, but he didn't make any attempts to stop him. The only thing they could do for him now was to free the land of waves from Gato's choking grasp. "Stop. If you hurt my son, I'll bite my tongue," Tsunami begged. 2 men had taken her son away, standing on the bridge next to her house. The brown-haired man with tattoos adoring his left arm and an eye patch over his right eye grinned, tightening his hold around Inari's neck. "Is that so? Don't waste your time," the man's partner said in a bored tone. He was wearing a black hat, a gray jacket and beige pants. "We only need one of them. If she wants to give herself up, then take her instead." "Fine by me." Inari tried to break free from the man's grip and stepped on his foot. He didn't recoil. "Stupid kid, you shouldn't have done that." He tossed Inari at Tsunami. He landed right in front of her with a thud. "I'd say we'd want you to come peacefully, but then I'd be lying," the man in the jacket said. "Now step aside, kid. You don't have to get hurt." Inari glared at the man, climbing to his feet. "I won't let you hurt my mom. I'll protect her with these 2 arms. Is that right, Waraji? Get rid of him." Waraji grinned venomously. "With pleasure, Zori." He placed his hand on his katana's hilt and unsheathed it, unleashing a powerful strike. Tsunami dropped to the ground, still holding her son as blood gushed from her nearly separated torso. Inari stared blankly at Waraji, tears forming in his eyes. "See what you did, kid?" Waraji asked. "All you had to do was just keep your mouth shut and maybe your mother would still be alive," Zori said. Inari dropped to his knees, hunching over Tsunami's prone form. "I won't forgive you for this. It doesn't matter what you do, you damn brat." Inari roared and charged at him. With the skill of an expert swordsman, Zori unleashed his katana. He smirked as he felt blood spray his jacket and watched the boy drop to the ground, lifelessly. Zori turned around. "Let's go." When Waraji ignored him, Zori scowled. "I said, let's go." When Zori turned around, he saw Tsunami and Inari's bodies dissolve into cherry blossom petals. A violent wave of wind blew the petals all around as they multiplied by the second. "What's happening?" Waraji asked. "Let me tell you," a disembodied voice said as the petals swirled around the 2 thugs. "You scumbags tried to kill innocent people. You thought you could get away with that, right?" Zori and Waraji tried to slice the petals away, but to no avail. Wrong. The 2 felt heavy weights on their backs before their throats were sliced open by the cold metal of a kunai. The petals disappeared to show Naruto, who watched as the thugs clutched their bleeding throats, desperately trying to stay alive. Naruto forced himself to watch the thugs' shock turn into horror as their eyes dimmed and turned blank, before they dropped to the ground. Their hands were still wrapped around their throats, stained in dark, red blood. Naruto pulled Zori and Waraji's corpses into the water and watched them sink, before looking at the house. "They'll be safe now." Naruto made sure that there was another clone guarding the house before he disintegrated into a cloud of smoke. Naruto groaned as he received an influx of memories. He felt his stomach clench and took a deep, ragged breath. He had to look at the good sides. Tsunami and Inari weren't in danger. They were never in danger and the one threat to their safety had been taken care of. "Naruto, stay focused," Kakashi said. Naruto nodded and composed himself as he followed his team and the Anbu squad to the bridge. Once they made it to the unfinished bridge, they saw Ao and the blue-haired swordsman standing alongside a woman with long auburn hair tied in a top knot, wearing a sleeveless blue dress. Her chakra reserves were incredible, greater than his were, and her chakra signature had 3 distinct chakra natures mixing together. So this was the person who saved Ao. This was Mei Terumi. "Where is Tazuna?" Mei asked in a clear, commanding voice. Oddly enough, it reminded Naruto of how Kurenai tended to speak. "He isn't here," Kakashi said. "He was safe in his home, being watched by Naruto's clone." Mei frowned. "In that case, I assume that you aren't interested in negotiating." "Tazuna told me to act as his proxy," Kakashi said. "Whatever you can tell him, you can tell us." She took a step forward, making every single ninja from the leaf tense up. "Very well. I intend to capture Tazuna. I do not intend to kill him. Once I have obtained what I need, he will be returned to his village safely. Do you have any objections to this?" How can we guarantee that you'll hold up your end of the bargain? Kakashi asked. You've noticed how Chojuro and Ao fought against you. If they were to fight anyone protecting Tazuna, I instructed them to avoid inflicting any lethal attacks. My priority is to complete the mission assigned to me, and your deaths are not required. Kakashi was as still as a statue. This was something that Kakashi had told them about when making their plan. I appreciate that. Can you guarantee that Gato won't return to the land of waves if he finds out that Tazuna is alive and well? Mei was silent. Then we have reached an impasse, Kakashi said. We can't hand Tazuna over. In that case, you leave me no choice. Mei weaved through hand seals as Team 7 and the Anbu squad got into position. Kakashi was on hand to release an earth wall to protect the others from being drenched by a massive water dragon that coiled around the bridge. Remember the plan, Kakashi commanded after lowering the wall. The 8-leaf shinobi split up into groups of 2 as the bridge became saturated with mist. Sakura was about to follow her teammates, but she was stopped by Fox. Don't forget the plan, Sakura, the Anbu said. She stepped closer to Sakura. As the medic, I can't afford to get myself hurt and waste valuable chakra healing myself. I have to help my teammates in case they need it. We're the last line of defense, understand? Sakura gave Fox a small smile. Sure. Fox had watched over Sakura and Sasuke's training, whenever Naruto was busy working with Kakashi, and Sakura had quickly grown attached to Fox. From what Naruto could tell, Fox was fond of Sakura, too. In any case, they were going to fight, so they had to find a way to separate Mei from Ao and Chojuro, to make their fight easier on all of them. While Sakura and Fox were observing the series of fights, Snake had gone with Bear to fight Ao, and kept him from attacking Kakashi. Ao gave Snake a half smile. Thought I took you out. Did you fake your death to avoid a fight? Snake hissed. I was careless last time. He hadn't noticed Ao before he had been taken out. Fortunately he ate a pill that simulated death and threw Ao off, or he would have really been killed. Ao hadn't pulled his punches when he attacked, he went for the kill just because he was in the way. Now I'll make sure that you regret what you did. Ao parried Snake's downward swing with a kunai and casually sidestepped Bear's lunge punch aimed at his side. According to Kakashi's intel, Ao could anticipate his opponent's attacks and react accordingly. In spite of his ocular advantage, Ao was put on the defensive, forced to weave around strikes both sharp and blunt, taking glancing blows as he did. Kicking Snake away, Ao's fingers twitched as he raised his hand, sending a handful of razor-sharp Senbon at Bear with such force that the Anbu was sent flying to the bridge's floor after they made contact. Snake withdrew his Tonto and hurled a handful of shuriken at Ao. Swerving around the throwing stars with ease, Ao closed the gap and grunted after he failed to jab Snake's throat. The Anbu slammed his hands on the ground and sent earthen spikes careening towards Ao, but Ao stepped onto the first spike that reached him and used it to catapult himself high above the others. However, Ao's gaze widened as he struggled to avoid Bear's rising shoulder tackle, but he managed to land safely, spinning on the spot to parry Snake's Tonto strike with a kunai. Ao frowned after throwing his kunai at the charging Bear. It hit a piece of the bridge instead of flesh like he expected it to. Shaking his head, the hunter ninja pulled out a pair of kunai and began to block, parry and sidestep a horde of shuriken. In a burst of speed, he slipped behind Snake and aimed for his heart, but stabbed his shoulder instead after the Anbu saw Ao disappear from his line of sight. Snake replaced himself with Bear and retreated. The kunai in his shoulder was wedged up to his handle and the pain it caused was excruciating, but he remembered his training. Pulling out the kunai would only make things much worse for him. Meanwhile, Bear had knocked the wind out of Ao with a titanic punch that nearly crushed his ribs. Ao stood up, and the Anbu prepared to enter the next phase of the fight. His muscles tensed as he dashed to Bear's position. Bear began to block desperately against a flurry of ferocious blows, but as the fight went on, Bear was starting to lose traction as Ao slipped past his guard. He replaced himself with a log just before being ripped apart with 2 vertical slashes, but his attempt to catch Ao off guard failed as the mist ninja ducked under his attack. So much for non-lethal blows. Ao disappeared and reappeared next to Snake, slashing his torso with his kunai. After swerving to the side, Snake gritted his teeth and disarmed Ao, before thrusting his Tonto. Before Ao could parry the attack with his usual swiftness, Snake thrust again. He continued to thrust his sword over and over, giving Ao very little room to attack as Bear approached from behind. "You've just made a fatal mistake, Anbu," Ao said. Ao pushed his Tonto upwards with a kunai, forming a deep fog around him. His confusion turned into horror as he saw Bear's outstretched hand and heard the sound of several kunai impaling his armored body with a horrible squelching sound. "Snake," Bear said. "Fox, get over here." Fox quickly flickered over to Snake's location and set her hands around his wound. With a roar, Bear jumped at Ao, fighting with everything he had. Snake staggered, collapsing to one knee. Blood was flowing from multiple places along his body in rivulets. "Looks like I shouldn't have let my emotions rule me, huh?" "Don't talk like you're going to die," Fox said. She made Snake lay down on the bridge. "You'll be all right, just let me do the work." Fox's hands were glowing bright green as she began to heal Snake's profuse wounds. However, the more she continued tending to her partner's injuries, the more she began to tense up. "Snake, don't die on me. You've struggled through worse than this." "I got caught up in getting revenge," Snake wheezed. "Over something so petty. I forgot my duty. I'm not a person who seeks revenge. I'm a soldier that fights for my village. But when I forgot that, when I forgot my sole reason for living, that's when I knew that I couldn't cheat death like I did all those times before." This was it for him. It was a good thing that he was wearing his mask, since he didn't want her to see the light leave his eyes. "Snake," Fox shouted. "Snake." She looked at Ao in fury, but remembered what happened to Snake. She had to stay focused. She had a mission to complete. "Stay focused, Fox," Sakura said as she approached Fox, gasping once she saw the dead Anbu. "What happened to him?" "It's nothing I'm not used to. It's just a part of being a shinobi, Sakura. We stare death in the face, and if we're lucky, we get to live another day. If we don't, we take solace in the fact that we died for our village. That's the way of the shinobi." Sakura gulped, but she drew out a kunai, gripping it tightly with both of her hands. She didn't need words to show her resolve to fight until the bitter end. Chojuro blocked the cat-masked Anbu's katana with his sword, and with a heave, he pushed the Anbu away. Before the Uchiha boy could sneak up and slash Chojuro, the blue-haired swordsman spun on the spot, beating him away with the tip of his sword and making him slide harshly along the bridge. The Uchiha clutched his ribs and stood up, reassuming his stance. "Sasuke, are you okay?" Kat asked. "I'm fine," Sasuke said. Sasuke was faster than before, but Chojuro had prepared for another fight, and this time, there was no need to hold back. The Haramakare, with its dark blue hue and flounder shape, was in his hands. Haramakare was loaded with at least 1 week's worth of chakra, pulled from not only his reserves, but Ao and Lady Terumi's as well. And he was pumping as much chakra through the Haramakare as he could. It was the only thing keeping him from losing to the Anbu, who was keeping him on edge with her fast and powerful strikes. "You're pretty good for someone so young," Kat said. He had to be. In spite of his age, he was one of the 7 swordsmen of the Hidden Mist. And not only that, Lady Terumi needed him to win. The Anbu's purple hair flowed in the wind as she dashed at Chojuro, dodging the Haramakare. It crushed the floor beneath it and sent chunks of concrete flying around. She jabbed at his ribs with her katana, but Chojuro gave her a faint smirk as he gracefully sidestepped the katana and jumped away, landing safely on his feet a fair distance away from the fighters. Before Sasuke could get the jump on him, Chojuro pushed him away with the blunt side of the Haramakare, forcing him to land next to Kat in a crouch. Chojuro transformed the blue energy surrounding the Haramakare into a massive hammer. It was his sword's signature ability, letting him manipulate the shape of the Haramakare's chakra to serve his current need. "What are we going to do?" Sasuke asked, just barely moving out of the way before Chojuro could smash him into the floor with the Haramakare. "He's stronger than before." Kat stared at Sasuke and smiled from behind her mask, appearing a distance away from the Uchiha. "You'll probably be able to make up for that boy's increase in strength, thanks to your Sharingan." Sasuke blinked. "What did you say?" "Just trust me on this, all right," Kat said. Sasuke nodded and pulled out a kunai, engaging Chojuro once more. He could see the change in Sasuke's eyes, how they became red with one black tomo in one eye and 2 in the other. One Sharingan had been enough to make Kakashi Hatake one of the most infamous ninja in the elemental nations, and he wasn't an Uchiha. Sasuke was, and even though he'd just unlocked his clan's ocular jutsu, Chojuro couldn't let Sasuke gain any advantage. However, while Chojuro's swings maintained their usual speed, Sasuke was much better at dodging them. Twisting his body to the side, wind lapped at Sasuke's face as he avoided Chojuro's violent swing, lunging forward in order to pierce through his guard. Letting go of his sword with his weaker hand, he grabbed Sasuke's forearm and threw him towards the bridge's railing. He gasped and hurriedly pulled up his sword to block Kat's aerial katana slash, crouching in order to gain leverage on the Anbu. Chojuro pushed away Kat and raised the Haramakare to the sky, where it began to extend until it shone like a beacon. It's good that we're far away from the others. Now I can unleash this without hesitation. Slamming it onto the ground, Chojuro unleashed a shockwave of pure energy that rippled and shot towards his opponents, parting the ground beneath it. Sasuke jumped out of the way, but the aftershock of the attack pierced his right side. Undeterred, Sasuke wove through hand seals, ending on the tiger seal. Kat jumped high above the shockwave and moved her katana in a circular motion that left a peculiar afterimage. Chojuro transformed the Haramakare into a shield to protect himself from the fireball jutsu, but he released it a second early and paid the price when his shoulder was slashed by Kat. He still managed to keep a grip on his sword. Kat charged towards the blue-haired swordsman and leapt in the air. Chojuro raised the Haramakare to protect himself, but he made contact with nothing. Chojuro barely had time to deflect Kat's stab, but fortunately for him, his right flank was pierced instead of his diaphragm. Kat withdrew her katana and prepared a finishing blow, but Chojuro kicked her away and unleashed the Haramakare's longsword form, slicing her torso cleanly and ripping her in half. Instead of seeing Kat's corpse, Chojuro saw two halves of a log and a fist making contact with his face, which sent him spinning uncontrollably in the air, landing on the ground with a hard crunch. Sasuke retracted his fist and panted, making sure that his arm, which was cut in a number of places, was all right. Don't ever underestimate something as simple as a log, Sasuke, Kat said, after reappearing next to her young partner. Sasuke coughed, but managed to smile. I won't. Naruto was struggling, since Mei focused the majority of her attacks on him and his clones. He was really getting sick of feeling like his skin was melting off his bones, or being burnt into ash. And he could swear that Mei had a perpetual smirk on her face. Kakashi dodged a bullet of lava and closed in, but Mei was able to keep him away with her boiling, acidic mist. He promised Kurenai that he'd stay safe if he went on a C-rank mission, but even if he thought he'd be saving princesses and countries, he never thought he'd fight such a powerful lady so early into her career. After Kakashi avoided another lava bullet, he grasped his hand and created a hound made of lightning. The hound pounced and charged towards Mei, lightning arcing off its body. Mei flashed through hand seals once again and created a wall made of water. With another set of hand seals, Mei converted her water wall into a water vortex that funneled towards them, destroying the hound in the process. Kakashi slammed his hands on the floor, making the concrete rise into a wall as wide the vortex. Instead of letting it drop, Kakashi's hands flashed, and Naruto saw him push the wall forward. Before it could reach Mei, they melted from a wave of lava that she spat out of her mouth. A group of Naruto's clones emerged from the remains of the wall and tried to attack her, but Mei slapped her palms together, crushing all of Naruto's clones between two large pillars. Naruto, on my signal, Kakashi said. Naruto nodded. It was time to put his training to use. When Kakashi raised his hand, Naruto focused. His hands twisted through 9 hand seals, and when he finished, he released his genjutsu. At the same time, Kakashi performed his own hand seal combination. As soon as they were done, Naruto formed more clones and had them charge at Mei. Mei's smirk didn't fade and her chakra pulsed once, before she unleashed a dragon made of water at them. She immediately made a fire dragon to join the water dragon and turned the concrete bridge into mud, sending it towards her opponents. The fire dragon turned parts of the mud into tar as it circled and twisted around the water dragon and tore through the earth wall Kakashi had erected. With his sensor, Naruto saw Mei flush out Kakashi's chakra with her own. She dispelled his genjutsu in seconds, but it was something Kakashi had anticipated. All they needed was to make her think that nothing had changed, just that they had tried to widen the gap between them. Her lapse in sensory perception cost her as Kakashi, who was an odd combination of burnt, soaked and muddy, charged towards her, thrusting a spiraling sphere of blue energy at her stomach. Mei's smirk collapsed into a vicious scowl and she strengthened her core using Earth Chakra. The Rasengan hit, but instead of leaving her organs torn and mangled beyond recognition, all Mei got was a partially torn dress and a ghastly burn mark under her slightly exposed breasts. She tumbled to the ground, holding her stomach tightly and blinked in surprise. Kakashi returned to Naruto's side, taking in deep, greedy breaths of air. "What was that jutsu?" Naruto asked. "It's called the Rasengan," Kakashi said. "It's the fourth Hokage's signature attack." Naruto's eyes lit up. No wonder Mei had gone down so quickly. And good thing, too. Her attacks had still grazed them. Kakashi was an odd combination of burnt, soaked and muddy, while Naruto was still stuck in the mud with badly singed clothes. They were still standing strong, but if Mei had a proper hold of her senses, she'd have torn through them. Throughout their fight, she'd barely moved, controlling the pace they moved at with such ease that Naruto only noticed after recalling how the fight went. Mei stood up and breathed in deeply. She coughed out blood, and wiped her mouth with her sleeve. "That was an interesting move, Kakashi Hatake. You and your little teammate nearly had me there. Unfortunately, I don't go down so easily. Not when I'm fighting for something I believe in." As he freed himself from the muddy, blackened river, Naruto thought about how his genjutsu was a success. Granted, it wouldn't have worked on Mei if Kakashi hadn't pitched in, but the fact that he hadn't had a single failure pleased him. "But why are you trying to kidnap Tazuna?" Naruto asked. "It's my mission," Mei said. "If I complete this mission, I will receive money that I can use to restore my village, a village ravaged by years of war and bloodshed." "The bloody mist," Kakashi whispered. Mei looked past Kakashi and Naruto, and with his sensor, Naruto saw Ao starting to become overwhelmed as he fought against 3 Anbu all at once. "I am not someone who lives to fight, but for the prosperity of my village, I will do anything I can. I believe the true way of the shinobi is to place your village and its future above your own wants and needs. I'm so close to completing this mission, and once I've succeeded, I can return to the hidden mist. I believe I can make my village a better place, so long as I have the resources to do it." "But Tazuna has a dream as well," Naruto said. "He's trying to do the same thing you're doing. That's why he's building this bridge, so that he can make a new future for his country. But you want to kill him, don't you? In order to fulfill your dream, you have to end Tazuna's dream first." Mei sighed. "I am aware of that. I wanted to capture Tazuna, but if I have to kill him, I will. It is unfortunate, but that is the harsh reality of the world we live in." Her previous smirk had faded into a stern frown. "By killing others, we survive. By destroying perfectly good dreams, we ninja get ahead. It's a moral dilemma, but one I've learned to accept. Because if I don't fight for this dream, children younger than you will suffer, wondering why they were born in such a horrible place." Naruto glanced at Kakashi, hoping he could recover. When they made their plan, Kakashi had told them that he preferred to win a fight as quickly as possible. That was why he'd copied so many techniques with his Sharingan, because it gave him an option to use for any kind of opponent. His worst opponent was someone who had lots of stamina and the skill to threaten his life. "Then why didn't you try to work with Tazuna instead? You didn't need to work with Gato, you could have made a deal with Tazuna so that you could get money from his bridge. The trade that would come through the land of waves could fund whatever plans you had made." "Working for Gato was the best option I had at the time," Mei said. "Years of living in the mist and rebelling against the Mizukage helped me learn how to kill shinobi of all kinds with the greatest of ease. If I used those skills, Gato would give me 500 million ryo." "You could have killed him easily," Kakashi said. "But you didn't." "That's right." Mei had wanted to avoid a fight, but when they refused to negotiate with her, she abandoned whatever made her want to choose peace and brought down all the force she could muster. Was this what being a shinobi forced people to do? Did being a shinobi kill your innocence and joy just so you could become the perfect tool for your village? It wasn't what Naruto expected, but even so, he raised a kunai and gripped it tightly. His muscles were aching and his entire body felt like it was on fire, but he was ready to fight for his life, for Tazuna's dream. Mei still had some chakra left, but she was struggling to stay up. The Rasengan did more damage to her than he thought it would, but she was still willing to fight. She performed a hand-seal combination, one that gathered an alarming amount of chakra. Before she could release it, Naruto heard a man's voice. "Tisk, tisk, what do we have here?" A man asked, thumping his cane on the ground. He was dressed in a black business suit, glaring at them behind a pair of black sunglasses. "What are you doing here, Gato?" Mei asked, still keeping her eyes tracked on them. She dropped her hands, and the chakra she gathered returned to her body. "I assumed that you would have been more effective at assassinating a simple carpenter than Zabuza Momochi would have. So when you returned to my headquarters with your entire team injured, I began to lose faith in your strength. I left you alone and gave you another chance, but it looks like I made a mistake. You look even worse than before. Did you want Tazuna to stay alive?" Mei's head swiveled in Gato's direction. "Did you decide to check up on me? Have some faith. Think of it as a hand from above," Gato said. "If you weren't able to beat a bunch of third-rate ninja, I would just have my men here." Gato motioned to the cluster of thugs behind him. "Clean up the mess, so to say. If you were going to betray me in the first place, why bother giving me the mission at all?" Mei asked, barely restraining her fury. "It was a good business decision at the time. But then I did some research. Did you know that the Mizukage is dead? Without a leader and an insignificant amount of shinobi left, I could set up shop in the land of water without having to worry about losing my head. It would be a much better opportunity for business than this backwater country. And 500 million ryo is almost too much money for anything less than the best. And unfortunately, you aren't." Mei smiled serenely, sending shivers up Naruto's spine. "Well, Gato, you made your first and last mistake by betraying me. I'm surprised you're not a ninja. Such cutthroat behavior would make you a perfect fit in our ranks. Then again, you'd most likely be kicked out for being a spineless coward." She looked at Kakashi and Naruto. "It looks like I have no reason to fight you, now that my mission has been cancelled by my fair benefactor." Then she walked towards Gato, keeping eye contact with the shipping magnate as she strolled down the bridge like she was fully healthy. Gato began to stagger backwards as the full force of Mei's killing intent bore down on him, and Mei enveloped the entire bridge in a dense mist. Gato stepped backwards, trying to fade into the crowd of hired thugs, but it was in vain as Mei weaved through the crowd without them even noticing. He eventually found himself at the edge of the bridge, where he saw Mei continue to approach him. "I take it back," Gato said. "I'll pay you double if you—" Gato was stopped as Mei placed a finger on his mouth. "You have no reason to speak now," Mei whispered. "It'll all be over soon." Mei's hand reached forward, the mist becoming too hard to see through. Gato's bone-chilling scream was heard by everyone on the bridge, and when the mist cleared, Gato's corpse was a grotesque, misshapen form. His skin was melted off completely, his hair was gone, and there was a single burn mark on his mouth, in the shape of a finger. Mei was nowhere to be seen. "Our money's gone," one of the thugs snarled. "And it was all because of that bitch," another thug barked. "Not only that, she ran away like a coward. There she is," a third thug shouted, pointing at Mei. She had come up from beneath the bridge. While she could hide from his eyes, she couldn't hide from his sensor. "They're coming for you," Naruto told Mei. Mei nodded. "I know, but I have no reason to fight them, and it would be a waste of my time to kill them." "You are an Uzumaki, correct? So you should know that there aren't any shinobi in that group." Sure enough, when Naruto used his sensor ability to check the chakra of the thugs, none of them had chakra reserves that were special. In fact, none of them had chakra reserves that surpassed even Sakura's level of chakra. "Why do you care about me being an Uzumaki?" Naruto asked in a clipped tone. "I had a few family members that came from Whirlpool." Mei had a wistful look on her face. "And my family was close to the Uzumaki clan. At least they were before Whirlpool's destruction." Naruto stared at the thugs, then back to Mei. Compared to fighting Mei, this would be a walk in the park. "Don't worry, I'll handle them. Believe it. I believe you can. You know what it means to fight for a dream, for a better future. As long as you continue to do that, you'll do well in this world of ours." She disappeared in a cyclone of water. Mei eventually reappeared next to the Anbu and whispered to her partner. "We have no quarrel with them anymore, ow." She was holding the haramakere in her hand, with Chojiro's body dangling over her shoulder. We'll be taking our leave. Right now. Ao took the haramakere from Mei. He was breathing heavily and cut up in multiple places, the cuts varying in severity. So why are we leaving, Lady Terumi? The deal with our benefactor melted away. The Anbu were about to engage the duo, but Kakashi came next to them. They're not fighting us anymore, Kakashi said, sparing a glance to see a bloody Sasuke and Sakura, who was doting over her teammate while protecting Tazuna. Stand down. How can we let them go? Fox asked. They killed our comrade. Ow. I assume you were responsible for this, Mei said. I tricked his teammate into killing him, Ao explained. When he saw Mei's expression darken, he sighed. You're not going to make me apologize, are you? You do realize that we'll have to deal with more conflict, don't you? His death wasn't necessary, Ao frowned, but Mei faced Kakashi. Let me repeat myself. Me, and by extension, my teammates, are not under Gato's employ any longer, so I have no reason to fight you or anyone else allied with you. Naruto wasn't sure what would happen. They couldn't afford to fight Mei, even if she was injured. It's your decision, Kakashi, Fox finally said, still keeping a solid grip on her tanto. I was the one who made the wrong call, Bear said. Don't make a decision you'll regret, like I did. If I let you leave now, I give you my word that once I become Mizukage, I will be sure do what I can to strengthen the ties between our village, and find solutions that will benefit us all, Mei said. If Naruto was in Kakashi's place, he would have taken her word. She had been reasonable whenever she wasn't fighting, constantly talking about making nonviolent choices. But he was just a rookie. Kakashi was the leader, the most experienced ninja of their squad. All right, Kakashi said, but I'll be holding you to that, and I'll make sure that our Hokage is aware of this potential deal as well. She nodded. Thank you. Send Tazuna my apologies. She turned to face Ao. Ao. Let's go home. Ao nodded and they left immediately. With that settled, Naruto stared at the thugs and considered his chances. Why are we standing here when we could ransack the village? A thug screamed. I'll give you one chance, Naruto said. Go home now, or else I won't be able to guarantee your safety. Are you kidding me? The same thug said. What are you going to do, cry at us? Naruto began to form different hand seals. As Naruto continued to go through the hand seals to his most powerful genjutsu, he noticed that all the thugs were armed to the teeth, so he had to hope that the genjutsu would stick for a sufficient amount of time. He's just one kid. We can take him easy. The thugs began to shake in excitement as they ran, but they were too late. You should have listened. Battlefield ablaze. Naruto faded from view as a myriad of different blades appeared, sheathed on the bridge's surface. Each weapon was different, from regular swords and knives to a naginata and even a scimitar. Suddenly, many copies of Naruto appeared and grabbed the weapons, releasing them from their concrete sheath. The thugs were unnerved by this, but grew determined and began to fight. As the fight went on, they began to realize that no matter how many times they cut Naruto's clones, they would continue attacking. None of their attacks did any meaningful damage, since the Naruto they attacked would regrow limbs, reattach his head or torso, act as if the attack was simply a slap on the wrist. The thugs watched as their compatriots were stabbed, slashed, beheaded and bisected by the army of Naruto and watched as the world around them rained blood. Naruto released the genjutsu after the thugs became dazed and unfocused. Some of them stumbled around like they were drunk, and before Naruto could stop them, they fell off the bridge. More and more followed their allies, but as the remaining thugs returned to reality, they noticed that there was only one copy of Naruto. Even so, most of the thugs ran desperately, tripping over themselves to get away from the shinobi that broke their resolve so easily. Some of them were trampled over in their rush to escape, while others stayed after hearing one of the thugs shout. It was only a trick. One of those illusions. And look at him, he's all spent. The remaining thugs roared in agreement and charged, but the arrival of Kakashi and the three remaining Anbu stopped them in their tracks. Leave and never come back, Kakashi said. Some of the thugs looked like they were going to agree with Kakashi's command, but the rest stood their ground, until they heard a rumbling in the distance. This country isn't yours to do what you want with, Inari shouted as he led the group of villagers he'd gathered right at the thugs. The remaining group of thugs knew that they would die if they tried to fight. That realization combined with being afflicted by Naruto's horrifying genjutsu led them to their decision. Let's get out of here. The thugs turned around and leapt off the bridge, swimming to their boats and leaving the country for good. And when they did, the sun began to shine on the bridge, clearing up the fog that afflicted the land and signaling a new beginning for the land of waves. However, everyone on the bridge was too preoccupied to see a shinobi standing on the water far away leave the area and disappear before he could be found. Hidden Cloud Village. The Raikage, a muscular dark-skinned man with light blonde hair, raised an eyebrow as one of his best scouts entered his office in a flash and crack of lightning. "What news do you have for me today?" he asked. "I have important information that I think you may find interesting, especially when you consider the upcoming Chunin selection exams," the scout reported. The Raikage merely settled into his chair. "What genin could warrant your attention?" "Let me tell you about what this genin did," the scout said. "In fact, I think that he deserves an entry in our bingo book." The Raikage snorted. "Only if he did something spectacular would I even consider doing something like that." The scout told his cousin about the genin's actions in the land of waves, and after he finished, the Raikage smirked. "After hearing about something like this, it looks like we'll be headed into the village hidden in the leaves for the next exam, to see how well this genin does." Omake. Naruto stood alone against Gato's band of bandits after Mei's departure. He began flowing through hand seals, speaking a profound incantation. "I am the bone of my sword. A demon is trapped within my body and chakra flows through my blood. I have created over 1,000 clones. Hated in life. Never experienced death. I've suffered greatly to get to where I am now. And I know that I have so much farther to go until I achieve my dream. But now, as I stand here, I summon. Unlimited Blade Works." Naruto held the last hand seal and sent his chakra to the massive group of bandits, grinning once he felt the illusion take hold over their collective psyche. They were trapped in a world filled with hundreds of different blades. Then suddenly, the blades were grabbed out of their earthen sheath by many copies of Naruto. Naruto's army of clones charged and attacked, incapable of being damaged by the bandits' desperate attacks and mercilessly slashing, stabbing and thrusting with their blades. The world of eternal sunset and infinite weapons became filled with the screams of the dead as the barren wasteland and dark orange sky was stained with their blood. Jutsu List. Sakura Illusion. D rank, Genjutsu. The user creates an image of sakura petals bombarding the target, which can be used either offensively or defensively. Battlefield of Blades. C rank, Genjutsu. The user conjures up many swords that are plunged within the surface of the current battlefield. When the swords are used to attack, they will feel like real swords. It is a dangerous technique, but it is risky due to it being so noticeable, and will be ineffective against stronger opponents unless necessary measures are taken. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.